Once again, after being cast into the water by the queen, I succumbed to unconsciousness. In a bid to protect the queen, the emperor feigned punishment, compelling her to attend to my ailment until I regained consciousness. What must you do to be willing to leave? Amidst my haze, I discerned an unfamiliar voice. It identified itself as a system, revealing to me that the queen was a strategy-targeting woman from another realm. Prior to her arrival, the system had assured her that success in her mission would necessitate her return to her original world in order to obtain double rewards. Yet, after achieving success in her endeavor, the queen had a change of heart. A heated argument ensued between the two individuals at my bedside. The queen stormed out, and as I opened my eyes, I inquired, "System, would it be possible for you to replace the person to be taken back with me?" Once again, I found myself plunged into the lake of the Imperial Garden, a cruel act instigated by the Empress. This was not the first instance of her malice. Previously, I was cast into the waters for entering the palace. The last time, it was due to the mere exchange of words with Su Qingxian. And now, it was the consequence of the palace banquet, where the emperor had gazed at me a moment too long. You might wonder who Su Qingxian is. He is the reigning emperor of the Qi Kingdom, the sovereign of all the women in the harem. Yet the Empress claims otherwise. She insists that Su Qingxian is her husband, solely hers, and forbids any other woman from approaching the emperor, even by a single step. Should anyone dare to draw near, I would surely be the one to suffer. Indeed, after the emperor's lingering gaze upon me at the banquet, the very next day, I was thrust into the water by the Empress herself. The instant I fell into the frigid lake, the icy water enveloped me entirely, piercing my skin like countless needles. The chill gnawed at my bones, creeping into my very marrow. I endeavored to calm myself and float, but the biting cold of early winter was overwhelming. The surface of the lake had already formed a delicate layer of ice, rendering my body immobile, as if frozen in place. "Your Majesty, I implore you to spare my mistress," my devoted maid, Wan Qiu, pleaded incessantly. But soon, her voice fell silent, likely muffled or dragged into the depths. Relying on others for salvation seemed futile. My mind was consumed with the desperate instinct to survive. I struggled fiercely against the water, while those on the shore reveled in my plight. They had declared that Su Qingxian was my husband. To entice him would lead to such a fate. Watch her downfall. They taunted. No one is permitted to save her. Otherwise, it would be an affront to me. A man's voice pierced my ears, causing my already weakened resolve to falter further. Yet, just then, a hand grasped mine. At last, I was rescued. I succumbed to the sweet embrace of unconsciousness.
2.
I lingered in a haze of unconsciousness for what felt like an eternity before awakening to the sound of a heated argument. I assumed it was the Empress quarreling with the Emperor, as was customary after her schemes. To my astonishment, it was not their voices that I heard. "Do you even remember the promise you made before coming here? After winning over the Emperor, you were to return and receive double rewards."
What do you mean by this?
A voice, youthful and indignant, chimed in. It sounded like a girl of about 14 or 15. I never said I wouldn't return, but this voice belonged to the Empress. I could recognize it even if she returned to ashes. But what? "Your actions betray your intentions. You begged me to choose a return that would grant double rewards. If you hadn't pleaded, would I have chosen this path?" The young girl's voice dripped with indignation. "Now that you wish to stay, I shall deduct points." The quarrel persisted, and I lay motionless on the bed, managing to crack open my eyelids ever so slightly. What I beheld sent a chill down my spine. Only the Empress stood by my side. There was no sign of the young girl. Yet, her voice resonated through the room, right before my bed. This was uncanny. Instinctively, I stilled my breath, straining to listen as their argument escalated, revealing truths that filled me with dread. After some time, the shocking realization struck me. The illustrious Empress was, in fact, a wisp of spirit from another realm. No wonder she appeared so divinely empowered. Despite her humble origins, she possessed skills that surpassed those of noble women: music, calligraphy, poetry, and even formidable medical and martial prowess. It all made sense. I had foolishly believed I could scheme my way into her favor, unaware that she had a perfect escape plan all along. If she were to truly evade capture, how could I ever seek retribution? My fists clenched beneath the covers, unnoticed by the still quarreling duo. I ask you once more, will you return? The system's voice rose sharply. Do not think your obstinacy will serve you. I could terminate the connection. Who would mourn being trapped here, watching you pursue men daily? My eyes are nearly blinded by your repulsive antics. In your world, gender equality has flourished for centuries. Yet you choose to dwell in this palace, avoiding the outside world, when you claim to despise it. The Empress's voice turned piercing, evidently provoked by the system's words. As long as I do not confirm my return, what can you do to me? Then leave. If you have the ability to depart, why have you not done so? If you could truly leave alone, you would not have endured this long. Who would consent to your departure?
You can only act before me.
Do not threaten me with such words. I have stated I will return, just not at this moment. I am weary now, and I shall rest. You keep an eye on that wretched one, the Empress declared haughtily, sweeping out the door. Very well. Good for you. The system, infuriated, fell silent. I heard a cacophony of objects crashing to the ground, followed by the sound of something being smashed. They all conspire against me, the system lamented. Why must I remain when she does not? I once again succumbed to unconsciousness. 3. Upon awakening once more, I found my devoted maid, Wan Xiao, vigilantly stationed at my bedside. In the vast expanse of the palace, we were the sole occupants. My lady, the physician has conveyed our instructions to the emperor, she reported, her demeanor calm and composed, a stark contrast to her previous frantic pleas during my ordeal. The emperor has commanded the physician to keep this matter under wraps. The incident of you being pushed into the water was witnessed by the Empress Dowager, and it has since become public knowledge. To placate the former court, the emperor has ordered the Empress to attend to your recovery until you awaken. Once you are revived, she will be confined to her quarters for a month. I understand. I nodded, unsurprised by these developments. The emperor adored the Empress, naturally prioritizing her well-being. While he spoke of confinement, it was more a protective measure than punishment. Had it not been for my family's influential power and the presence of the Empress Dowager, who harbored animosity towards the Empress, I suspected that even this care and confinement would not have materialized. Assist me in rising, I commanded. In the late autumn, Wan Xiao hastily helped me to my feet, propping me up with several pillows behind my back to ensure my comfort. Have all the items been tidied away? I inquired. Yes, everything has been cleared. The physician responsible for this matter is an elder from our household. As for the rest, all that needed to be burned has been incinerated. No one will discover anything. I nodded in agreement. Suddenly, laughter escaped my lips. Your Highness? Wan Xiao looked up, her face etched with concern. Oh, Wan Xiao. Today I have come to realize that our Empress's background is far more formidable than we had ever imagined. This certainly makes it easier to handle. Wan Xiao's worry deepened, tinged with a hint of confusion. The family initially believed that the Empress was a noble lady cultivated by some hidden, prestigious clan poised to emerge. Little did we know that she was, in fact, a lonely spirit from another realm. My brief words had nearly caused Wan Xiao to break into a cold sweat. I wondered why we could find no trace of the Empress's connections, which had led us to guard ourselves so diligently for so long.
But now,
it seems, I chuckled softly, it will be much easier to deal with her. All we need to do is to remove the system from this world. Your Highness, Wan Xiao said, casting a worried glance at me. Fear not, dear girl. Your mistress is not unhinged. I gently tapped her forehead. Now, go prepare some ink for me. I must write a letter home. A letter that could alter my fate. Having awakened, the Empress naturally had no need to attend to my ailments any longer. Thus, she comfortably remained hidden within her palace, awaiting the end of her confinement. In the dead of night, Su Qingxian arrived. I was in a drowsy state when I sensed a pair of eyes fixated upon me. Turning, I beheld Su Qingxian sitting at the edge of my bed. Your Majesty. I struggled to rise, but he halted me mid-sentence. You've just miscarried. You must not move about recklessly. Reluctantly, I reclined again, tears beginning to cascade down my cheeks. Your Majesty, our child is gone. At that moment, my heart truly ached, not for this false child, but for the one I lost 2 years prior. 2 years ago, the Emperor had quarreled with the Empress, and in a drunken stupor, he had turned to me. Whether it was genuine chaos or feigned chaos, one could only conclude it was drunken folly. The Empress had thus set her sights upon me. Prior to that, I was merely one of her many trifling concubines, insignificant in her eyes due to my failures. Even when she pushed me into the water leading to my miscarriage, she felt justified, claiming she was merely eliminating a rival. But this time, I had orchestrated the scheme, hoping to subtly undermine their relationship. I had initially thought it would take 3 to 5 years to achieve my goal. Yet it seemed I would not have to wait that long. Do not dwell on it. There will be other opportunities, Su Qingxian said, his expression stiff and his words vague, as if attempting to placate me. He then broached the matter at hand. Since the child is gone, focus on recuperating, and refrain from voicing any inappropriate sentiments before the Empress. She is naturally forthright, unlike the women of your family. You know this. In Su Qingxuan's eyes, I was perpetually docile, even more so than a meek little lamb. Furthermore, I had endured a miscarriage before without causing a stir, and I was expected to do so again. However, matters were not as he envisioned. I did not comply. Instead, tears blurred my vision, flowing incessantly down my cheeks. That was my child. Poor thing, it never even had the chance to be born. Enough. Su Qingxuan's demeanor shifted to one of indifference as he witnessed my persistence. Men are indeed fickle creatures. If one does not acquiesce to his desires, he grows intolerant. You are aware of my temperament, Xian Fei. You should simply focus on your recovery and avoid any capricious actions. With that, he swept away, leaving me behind. Once Su Qingxian departed, Wan Qiu entered. Upon seeing the tears on my face, her expression was filled with concern. Your Highness, please do not grieve. It could harm your health. Grieve? What is there to grieve over? My tears, which had flowed endlessly, suddenly ceased. Good girl, I was not truly sorrowful. This is all an act. The Empress is no virtuous being, and Su Qingxian is even less so. How could I possibly mourn for such individuals? Has there been a reply from home? Wan Qiu nodded and retrieved a letter from her bosom. I took the letter, and upon opening it, I discovered it was penned by my father. The person I desired has infiltrated Kunning Palace. As long as what I previously conveyed in my letter is verified, he will consent to my plan. I clutched the letter, cherishing it as though it were my most prized possession, filled with a sense of reassurance. Everything now rested solely upon the passage of time. I did not have to wait long. Within 3 days, I received a second letter from my father, and its tone was notably more fervent than the first. Clearly, the spy embedded within Kunning Palace had reported back with revelations that shattered his world, akin to the moment I first overheard the Empress conversing with the entity she referred to as the system. Unlike my previous hesitation, this time, my father readily acquiesced to my proposal. However, he stipulated that the family would not provide substantial assistance. I must confront this entity known as the system alone. Nonetheless, this was inconsequential. As long as there was an opportunity, I was willing to proceed. At present, however, the Empress was confined under the guise of protection within Kunning Palace, making it impossible for me to approach. Additionally, having just been submerged in water, my body was not in a condition to act. It matters not. I have waited all these years. A little more time is of no consequence. The flowers in the imperial garden bloomed vibrantly, and today was the perfect day for me to set my plans in motion. Your Highness, are you truly intent on proceeding with this? Wan Qiu gazed at me with concern. Falling into water has indeed taken a toll on my health. I languished in bed for an entire month. Yet the Empress had been released over half a month ago. On my very first day out of bed, my foremost action was to provoke the Empress once more. Do not worry. I am well aware of my limits, I assured her, though my heart danced with excitement. However, before Wan Qiu could voice further objections, it was too late. The Empress was approaching. The familiar trials began anew, with her demanding that I kneel and pay my respects. Until she granted permission, I was not allowed to rise. Under the blazing sun, I was drenched in perspiration. It was only after the Empress had leisurely sipped her tea in the pavilion that I was allowed to stand, a concession likely due to the recent pressures from the former dynasty on the Emperor. Otherwise, I feared I might have remained kneeling until I fainted from exhaustion. The Empress was notorious for her merciless tactics within the harem. As she would say, this is how one deals with a rival. To her, every woman in the harem was merely a rival. I was oblivious to the true nature of such rivals. Ultimately, it is merely a manifestation of undesirable qualities. However, For Su Qingxian, this was a genuine expression of the queen's candid temperament. Moreover, as the queen, it is only fitting that she oversees the harem. Should any of the concubines wish to bring grievances against Su Qingxian, it would be an act of insubordination. Today, I shall indeed engage in an act of insubordination myself. After kneeling for a considerable time, I found myself unsteady upon rising. The virtuous consort, the queen, seemingly with good intentions, instructed her personal maid to pour a fresh cup of tea. The tea was steaming, still exuding warmth. "Your face is turned pale. Have a sip of tea." I obediently accepted it, as I had done previously. The moment I took the cup, it felt as though I had been scalded. My hand trembled, and the scalding tea spilled entirely onto the queen. It was not my intention to splash her face. That would have been too deliberate, and I could not possibly withstand the emperor's wrath. "You fool!" The queen leaped up, her eyes blazing with fury as she beheld my expression, which was a sardonic semblance of my usual docility. "I knew there was not a single good thing among you concubines." With a swift motion, she struck toward me. Before her palm could make contact, I had already recoiled several steps, tumbling out of the pavilion and landing before the emperor.
Queen.
"What are you doing?" I heard the emperor's voice, tinged with exasperation, directed at the queen. I felt faint again, though it was unrelated to the queen's strike. It was simply the result of having knelt for so long. My body truly felt feeble. Yet the queen would not entertain such an explanation. With conviction, she declared to Su Qingxian, I feigned fainting upon seeing the emperor's arrival. However, when the entire Imperial Medical Bureau was summoned, every physician confirmed my genuine state of unconsciousness. "Queen, cease this folly. The virtuous consort just had an incident last month. Another occurrence will surely lead to your impeachment." The emperor, in a state of agitation, added, "You do not believe me. Su Qingxian, you scoundrel. You dare not trust my words." The queen appeared far angrier than the emperor. They engaged in a fierce argument. When the queen was incensed, she spoke freely. "Do not forget, had it not been for your pleading, I would never have accepted this wretched title of queen. Enduring the sight of countless concubines prancing before me, you are nothing but an insufferable scoundrel." The emperor, subjected to the queen's relentless tirade in front of the entire Imperial Medical Bureau, was left humiliated and furious. Yet, he remained enamored with the queen. Ultimately, he could only shout at her, "From this day forth, you shall attend to the virtuous consort, administering medicine and feeding her until she awakens. Once she does, you shall confine yourself to the Ning Palace."
Confinement? So be it.
"I fear you not." Their quarrel ended in discord. The queen resumed her vigil by my bedside. Of course, I was entirely oblivious to these events. I had truly lost consciousness. All of this was later recounted to me by Wan Qiu. He was never a commendable individual, yet you, from the very beginning, were only captivated by his appearance, claiming you aimed to win him over, merely biding your time until you succeeded and could depart. Upon regaining consciousness, the familiar voice of the system resumed its incessant chatter in my ears, sounding almost reproachful. My heart began to race. "You could return now, with money in hand, yet fail to find a handsome man. Must you hang yourself from a crooked tree?" I understood this, but those concubines were the ones who lured him. Moreover, even if the entire harem were filled with concubines, he had never laid a hand on another woman, save for that wretched one. I sensed a seething glare directed at me.
Indeed.
He had been with others and was no longer untainted. Could you not seek someone pure instead? The system attempted to persuade further, only to be rebuffed by the queen. "Be silent. You do not care for me at all. You solely seek to gain your measly points. If I return, those men will only covet my wealth. At least Su Qingxian still loves me. I refuse to go back. If I leave, Su Qingxian will belong to those concubines. Why should I allow that?" "You." The system was incensed. "You are so intent on subjugating yourself, enamored with something tainted. I offer you sound advice, and you twist it against me." The queen scoffed. "Sound advice? Had you been genuinely concerned, you would not have urged me to pursue those double points, promising me a return to my original world. Should I fail to return, you would be penalized. Now that I choose not to return, I have ensnared you instead. You merely regret your decision. Alas, apart from me, you will find no one else to hear your voice. No one can replace my position." My heart began to thump violently. "You." What of it? I shall tell you this. Unless I relinquish my feelings, do not expect my consent to return. I am going back to the palace. You may either accompany me obediently, or do as you please. Regardless, you cannot escape me. Begone. The system's response was one of exasperation. The queen exited the room, the system not following. A cacophony of clattering filled the air. After a considerable time, the system finally broke down. Wretched woman, wretched woman, wretched woman.
Ah.
It was at that moment I opened my eyes. System, may I inquire if you could substitute me for the queen? I spoke to the empty room, my voice trembling. It would be a lie to say I was not anxious or afraid. My palms were slick with perspiration. The system's voice fell silent. System? I tentatively probed. Are you still there? No response came. After a long pause, just when I presumed I had failed, the system's exuberant voice rang through the room. Yes, yes, yes. Darling, do you wish to join me in the new world? The events thus far unfolded with astonishing inevitability. The system's primary concern was to extricate itself from the queen. I found myself regretting my earlier greed for those double points, which nearly led to my departure. That woman, Xiang Ting, was truly an insufferable and shameless being. She could hardly move when a man was present. How fortunate I was to have investigated her background before binding myself to her. I had presumed she would love wealth over men, yet, as it turned out, she cherished both wealth and men, swallowing whatever filth came her way. From the moment I nodded in agreement, she unleashed an unending torrent of complaints. Can you imagine? Your queen hails from a new world where gender equality has reigned for centuries, a realm where all are equal, devoid of emperors or aristocrats, where women can vie for the presidency, akin to your emperor, changing every 4 years. In every profession, women hold their ground. The system's words filled me with sheer delight. It painted a picture of a celestial existence. Women, like men, could compete without any constraints. Such a concept had been utterly foreign to me throughout my 21 years of existence. And now, this was the new world I was destined to enter. My heart raced with exhilaration. Originally, I sought merely to escape this frail body, yet unexpectedly, I was presented with such an extraordinary opportunity. Regardless of gender, one can behold a vast expanse of possibilities. Yet, upon her arrival in the ancient era, she found herself amidst a backward economy, with a meager production capacity and a diminished status for women. Strangely, she chose to forsake the prospect of inheriting a substantial fortune for the sake of a man. Is this not foolishness? Perhaps it is because she is a queen here, positioned just below the emperor, above all others. After contemplating this, I replied, No. What purpose does this serve? Su Qingxian is clearly a worthless scoundrel, destined to abandon her one day. She cherishes him like a treasure, akin to a loyal dog, as if every woman approaching her is merely coveting the bone she clutches. I do not comprehend what the system refers to as leak, but I surmise it signifies a lack of agreement. The emperor indeed holds the highest position, and those enamored with power naturally gravitate toward him. Let us depart now. If we delay, we shall be compelled to wait another 3 days, I urged. The system appeared exceedingly impatient. I have no desire to remain in this wretched place any longer. I pondered and resolved not to leave immediately. If I must depart, I shall maximize the benefits of my exit. Dear system, let's wait 3 days. I have some words to impart to my family here. Ah, very well, it acquiesced, though its disappointment was palpable upon hearing my choice of a 3-day delay. You won't backtrack on this decision, will you? It inquired again. You will leave, won't you? Please do not be like that wretched Xiang Ting, dragging me along. In the new world, you shall acquire a brand new body, free from ailments, it tempted. Why not depart now? Naturally, I would not. I chuckled softly. If you doubt my resolve, I can swear to it. Swearing is meaningless, the system scoffed.
But soon it seemed to remember something.
Wait a moment, I recall something. I stood still for a moment as a pristine, gossamer-thin sheet of paper materialized in midair, landing upon my bed. Press your thumbprint upon it. Thus, when the time comes, you must depart. There will be no option to linger. This contract cost me 500 points. It sounded genuinely pained. I shook my head and decisively bit my thumb, pressing it firmly upon the paper. This was the most forceful act of my life. Were it not for the fear of tearing the paper and rendering it ineffective, I might have pressed harder. A blood mark appeared upon the pristine sheet. At the moment I affixed my thumbprint, a phantom image emerged in the sky, an apparition resembling a girl of 15 or 16, her arms and legs bare. She picked up the paper before me. Now, splendid. In 3 days, when you are ready, summon me. If you do not, it matters not, for at the stroke of midnight, you shall vanish. Farewell, new host. With that, the apparition vanished, leaving me alone in the room. I laughed joyfully, tears streaming down my face.
3 days were ample time.
How wonderful! Truly, it could not be better. During those 3 days, I spared not a moment. Countless letters traversed numerous barriers until they reached my father's hands. Everyone diligently played their roles. My devoted maid, Wan Xiao, I sent home at this time. This good girl was the sole person I cared for in this world. Previously, when I had deliberately provoked the queen, she too had faced punishment. Should I encounter misfortune, she would likely not survive either. Thus, for the first time, I beseeched the emperor for a favor, requesting her release from the palace in light of my own transgression of inciting the queen's ire. I refrained from utilizing familial connections, aware that if I did, this naive girl might be silenced by my family the moment she left the palace. She knew too much to live. Take care, my lady, she said, her eyes reddened at parting, yet she said nothing more. She understood that I was soon to enter a beautiful new world, not merely facing death. Good girl. Leave the palace, escape, this is all I can do to assist you. I patted her shoulder, embracing her for the first time. If you cannot flee, should I close my eyes, bite the small pearl in your mouth, it will grant you a swift release. I understand, my lady. As the palace gates closed, my final concern dissipated. At that moment, the queen arrived. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, having confessed to my role in framing the queen, punishment was inevitable. My sentence was not severe, merely house arrest for 6 months. This was owing to the fact that I had played the role of a docile lamb quite convincingly over the past years. In the emperor's eyes, I posed little threat, nor did I dare to harm others. Moreover, the queen delighted in undermining rivals, having pushed me into peril more than once. What did it matter if she struck me unconscious? I would eventually meet my demise at her hands. Yet, I willingly admitted my guilt solely to protect my maid, ensuring she would not suffer the same fate as I. Thus, a modicum of guilt lingered in the emperor's heart. Consequently, I was merely sentenced to 6 months of confinement. However, the queen perceived matters differently. In her mind, this was the emperor shielding me, the mistress. His disloyalty painted me as base. She subsequently engaged in a fierce quarrel with the emperor, her fury unabated, and she marched toward me to confront the mistress. As the queen stormed toward my residence in Changla Palace, having just left Kuan Ning Palace in a rage, the emperor received word and hurried over. The system, this little girl, had an impeccable sense of timing. As the queen kicked open the chamber door, she produced a keyboard.
Ah.
The queen has come to exert her authority here again. I feigned nonchalance, a mocking smile gracing my lips. Wretched woman. The queen spat, charging toward me. 10, 9, 1. Just as the queen's foot brushed my gown, I was extricated from my body by the system, suspended in midair to witness the unfolding drama. The queen remained oblivious. Throughout these 3 days, unless the system chose to reveal itself, she could not perceive its presence. She likely thought the system was irate and unwilling to return. Everything unfolded seamlessly. My body was sent flying by the queen's kick, just as the emperor rushed in. Naturally, he caught me, propelled by her blow. At that moment, I truly perished, transformed into a lifeless form in the emperor's embrace. What transpired next remains a mystery to me. All I know is that when I awoke, I found myself in an entirely new world. The first doctor I encountered was a woman who informed me that I had been in an accident. It took considerable time for me to acclimate to this beautiful, unfamiliar world, now living as an orphan bereft of parents or relatives. Oh, and I possessed a substantial sum of money, 2 million. A gift from the system in gratitude for my points. Although I was uncertain how such wealth might be utilized, according to the system, it was more than sufficient to ensure my comfort for a lifetime. Tears of exhilaration threatened to spill from my eyes as I beheld the world before me, a realm resplendent in its advancement and beauty, where gender equality reigned supreme. Even on the very first day of my awakening, I was greeted by a fabric upon which animated figures danced, joyfully proclaiming the birth of a new president. And lo, it was a woman. Truly, this was precisely as the system had described. This world bore no resemblance to the previous one, where women were often viewed with scorn for merely stepping outside. Reflecting on the past, I felt compelled to inquire of the system, which had yet to depart. Esteemed system, are you privy to the events that transpired in that world post my departure? For, in bringing me back, it seemed that both worlds had merely exchanged one inhabitant. The system, having effortlessly accrued points, had recently opted to take a sabbatical in my world, albeit without the benefit of double rewards. Nevertheless, it took a brief respite from its busy schedule to regale me with the events following my demise. In a public display, the Queen had mercilessly kicked me, her favored consort, to death, a scandal that could not be concealed. This incident rendered the Queen's position considerably more precarious. Fortunately for her, the Emperor still held affection for her, bearing the weight of considerable pressure on her behalf. He, under duress, compelled the imperial physician to issue a diagnosis reflecting my already frail constitution. Ultimately, she was merely demoted to a noble consort. Yet the treacherous physician divulged a shocking secret. My frailty was due to 2 pregnancies that had ended in miscarriage, one occurring just last month, coinciding with the moment the Queen cast me into the lake. Consequently, the Queen was further downgraded to a mere consort. Such actions understandably incited discontent among the courtiers. Yet the Emperor quashed their dissent with an iron fist. It must be said, the despicable man still harbored feelings for her. I, too, learned my lesson. Henceforth, I would no longer succumb to any temptations of double traps. The system glanced at me from its game, suddenly recalling a delightful thought. My dear, before I departed, I told her I was off to find a new host. I assured her that when she wished to summon me, she need only press a button. Can you believe she actually fell for it? It erupted into laughter, exclaiming, after enduring so much torment, "If I do not take my revenge, I am not the system." Imagining the moment of her summons, it rose, hands on hips, cackling with glee. A mere fortnight later, the system's vacation concluded, and it bid farewell to this world and to me, embarking on a new journey with a fresh host. Meanwhile, I continued to explore this uncharted realm. 3 years later, I encountered the system once more. By then, I had established an art training studio, wherein many skills I had acquired were quite useful, be it in music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. Ultimately, I decided to open a studio to teach these arts, and to my surprise, business thrived. Most importantly, it was all earned through my own efforts. One day, while interviewing a prospective teacher, a familiar voice burst into my ears. Ding, ding, ding. My dear, I am back. Looking up, I beheld a familiar figure before me. Despite the passage of 3 years, the system had not grown a whit. Truth be told, I was both surprised and somewhat startled. Hastily concluding the interviews, I shut the office door. Darling, I have come specifically to share some news. That foolish girl. She is on the brink of ruin. Ha ha ha. In just 3 years, the wretched man had thoroughly severed ties with her, having taken his fill of the entire harem. How vulgar. While he indulged in his conquests, she merely lingered in the background, dealing with the aftermath. Unable to bear children herself, she prohibited others from doing so. It had been 6 or 7 years since the man ascended to the throne, and yet not a single child had been born. The royal family was beginning to eye his position with intent. Once again, the emperor discovered that she had lost a child, resulting in her relegation to the cold palace. And do you know what she thought? She believed the despicable man sought to engage her in a tale of tragic romance. For half a month, she had been subsisting on spoiled food. She pressed the button, wishing to escape that world, all in hopes of making the wretched man regret his actions. I was at a loss for words. What on earth was she thinking? I then told her, "Fool, I have deceived you. You cannot escape." You should have seen the expression on her face. Perhaps it was a case of desperation. When I departed, she had managed to leverage connections to summon the man, and he indeed came, only to be rendered a eunuch. Now, the throne would surely pass to another. The system, elated, recounted these events, and I found joy in its words. The Queen had always possessed such a disposition. Should she reach that point, she would undoubtedly drag others down with her. Indeed. After the system's exuberance subsided, it suddenly embraced me. My dear, this time we must truly part ways. I know you fear I might take you back, but rest assured, I shall never appear again. Live well. With those words, the system vanished completely from my sight. For a time, I held a cup of coffee from the table, taking a sip.
Farewell, system.
At last, I could truly live forever in this new world.
The end.
Thank you for listening. And until we meet again in the next tale.